Night. One person we've spoken a lot about on the show who appears to be close to Putin now, seems to want to run this war in a much bigger way is Evgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group paramilitary organization. Do you think Prigozhin could take over? What is his role with Putin?
Well, it's a very interesting moment in all this campaign that Mr. Prigozhin has become so influential and really is a person which can decide a lot of, can make a lot of decisions. So I think he is somehow a favorite of Vladimir Putin for now. And Vladimir Putin obviously entrusts him with the most difficult and challenging missions on the front line because Mr. Prigozhin controls these private military company like Wagner, is called Wagner, and they're notorious for being the most effective and most cruel of all Russian armed structures which are acting now in Ukraine. But I believe that Mr. Prigozhin has no political future in Russia because he has no social basis and he has no allies within the Russian establishment because all of Russian establishment, I mean, decision makers such as army generals or special service people, they hate him and despise him as a former criminal and someone who has no connections, who has like jumped up man or something. So I would not overestimate his significance for now.
Do you read anything into this, though? You don't want to overestimate his significance, but does his rise and the fact that you say so many in power despise him, what does this mean about Putin? That Putin seems to be letting him in more. Is it a sign of Putin's isolation? Is it a sign others are turning against Putin? How do you see it?
Well, I would like to see it as the sign of a further isolation of Putin, of course, because and his frustration that Putin is obviously disappointed in his army, his generals, which cannot still bring him a victory over Ukraine, which they had promised to him, obviously, before the war started. And of course, he now thinks that maybe Prigozhin, with his, unscrupulous methods of war, can have some victories. Who knows?